Okay, here we are. We're live with Elizabeth Rowe. Yay! I've actually been really excited about this conversation. Okay, so full disclosure to everyone that I've been actually like excited, nervous about this conversation because a lot of what we're going to talk about today with Elizabeth is still alive in me, right? So there's still some stuff to be processed and worked through. And so it's going to be a great opportunity for you to hopefully learn while I'm learning, right? Yeah. So here is Elizabeth, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about her. Most of you have read her bio, but she spent 11 years on the high security trading floor. And you can tell a little bit about yourself too, Elizabeth, but I'll just give them the rundown. And gave herself a goal to become fully financial free in 10 years. During these 10 years, she hit rock bottom and found spirituality, found yoga, found meditation. And this was the key for her to finally, and with more grace and ease and a lot more fun, create financial freedom. So she's a creator of the Spiritual Investor, which is something that I'm a part of right now, which is why I'm excited to share that with you. So so what we're planning on doing, Elizabeth and I are having a conversation where I'm going to ask her questions, and she's likely going to be coaching me a little bit as well.
Yes, absolutely amazing. Well, thank you for having me on, and thank you everyone here for just being open to having a new conversation about this. I think that we are all feeling the upgrade right now, aren't we? 2022, we just went through 2222, right? And I think that all of us are aware of the fact that we have changed and the world around us has changed. And what we want to do here today is to help you guys let money catch up with that, because so many times we sort of leave money like over here, and then we get into fear and scarcity and things like that. And what do we dig up? We dig up things from that we learned 20 years ago that really aren't relevant anymore, right? So hopefully, we can help you guys navigate some of that. And I merged spirituality and money, as Marla said. I'm a financial person, so I was looking at it just from the numbers, and I was on track. I was doing great with it, but then I got really depressed, and I was like, because we're not motivated by a number in a bank account. Most of us aren't. We want it to carry some kind of energy, mean something, And so I actually ended up with a spiritual guru who was, bringing me all of these crazy books from India that I was like, what is this? Who are these people on the front, like wearing sheets, like half sheets? And we had a good laugh about it. And he became like my best friend. And he took me under his wing spiritually. And then, it just kind of went from there. And then I started doing yoga and, the whole thing. But I actually can't teach money any different. So, because money is energy, like we were just talking about before this, Marla, is money is energy. And so a lot of times, though, people say that they believe money is energy. You hear this a lot in the spiritual community, like, oh, money flows through me. And then they go to the store and they're like, that's expensive. Well, okay. So we're kind of also here to kind of call bullshit on ourselves, because that's how we grow too, is recognizing our own limiting beliefs and stories. And then being able to release that and practice forgiveness and neutrality and all of that, because it's like, how can we create the new money version of us? Mm-hmm. So,
You said something really important at the beginning that I'd love to kind of translate the money into food, where you said that the numbers don't necessarily mean anything if they're just sitting on a screen. And I think when it comes to with food and our body, the number on the scale doesn't really mean anything if we're feeling like crap. So we've dieted, we've restricted, we're over exercising, we're doing all the things that don't feel good to us. That number means nothing.
Right.
right? And it's just like, if you, like you were saying, if you're doing all this stuff to make the numbers go up, but you are feeling bankrupt, then what's the point?
Yeah. And actually the number, I don't know about, with food, but I know, when it comes to like looking at your accounts and all of that, sometimes the number can actually be detrimental even because you already have a prior relationship and interpretation of that number that it's never going to be enough. Or even if it is enough, then you're like, oh, well, how come I don't have more? Or it's just like, we're never ever, upset about this, our own money circumstance. We're always just upset about our interpretation of what that circumstance means about a future that we are projecting, an unwanted future that we're projecting. And so it's literally like we have to learn through money neutrality how to actually live in the present moment, yet still have a plan. And this is probably one of the biggest things that confuses people is how do you have a strategy and a plan? And how do you actually plan for the future and live in the present moment? And part of that is to disconnect from your interpretations of what it means and your level of self-identity, which I would assume is very similar to food. And anyone here who is already further on their journey with food know that, you can use these same tools to apply to your money. Don't feel like you have to like recreate the wheel over, like leverage what you've already learned.
Yes, I found that in the deep, dark places what I had with food, which I was literally a lot in New York City, I would run around from restaurant to restaurant and get these little samplings of food because A, I didn't want to spend any money, and B, I didn't want to have too many calories. And I look back on that, I'm like, oh, I was anorexic with food the same way I was anorexic with money.
Yes.
And on the flip side, and I was feeling into this last night when I was thinking about this conversation we were having. When I would not even overspend, literally just spend money on myself, buy myself, go shopping, buy myself some clothing, I would get this flush of anxiety and fear. And I realized it's the same sort of fear and shame that I had of when I ate something indulgent. And so, what that says to me is it has really nothing to do with the food or the money. There's a deeper thing that's going on here. There's a deeper, as you were saying, like belief system about it or way of interpreting it.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I really needed to look at.
Yeah. Yeah. It's our interpretations that trip us up. It's never the actual situation. It's just like Marianne Williams said, she said, no one's ever angry at what they say they're angry about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's break that down a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's break that down because I know for a lot of us when it comes to money, right? It's like, well, I am safer. If I have more money, then I do feel safer. If I am a lower weight, then I do feel better, right? So there's this belief system and there is this like sense of our body goes, oh, I have relief.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't always last very long, right? Because then there's that next thing, there's that next sort of almost addiction to wanting more or just the way that we're interpreting another transaction with money can bring up those feelings again.
Yeah. Well, I love how you are paralleling these two together. And it's just quite fascinating because, like, anytime you say, like, I'll feel better, if I had more money, right? There's a sense of enough. Or you use the example, like, am I thin enough, right? So anytime you introduce an element of comparison, then what you've done is you've introduced the ego element into it, right? Which Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about. And so that is our first point of awareness. And that's the great thing about money is that it does go so deeply within us that it's a great spiritual teacher. Actually, money is, because it can bring us back to that point of awareness. So that in that moment is when that ego has come in, because compared to what is what you have to ask yourself, right? So when you say I have enough money, well, are you sure? Like, what if something happened in the economy? What if you didn't have your job next week? Like, what if you suddenly like tripped and had a broken foot, or what? There's never enough. So it's like an infinite unanswered question. And so it's enough to drive someone mad, right? So you just have to sort of go the other direction. The only other direction to go is inward. And so when you go inward with it, then it is, why does that make me feel better? If that's enough, what is behind the question? So that's the money practice of it all, is we're always backing up and going, no, what's the real question behind it? And what's the question behind that? That's where you're going to solve this. That's where you really can that's how you accelerate time, actually, with wealth. People are always worried about, I should have started last year, or 5 years ago, or whatever. No, money doesn't speak linear time. We speak linear time. And once we get out of that and we start creating from within with money, then that's when we see these accelerated results.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want us to take that in, for those of you who may be late on the investing board or creating wealth for yourself, that if money is not speaking linear time, then we can create. And you're talking about creating from within. And I know what you mean by that, but I'm wondering if you can share a little bit more about, because your program's called The Spiritual Investor, right? So to me, that's like, we're not only, like, that could be like we're investing into spirituality, or we're investing using spirituality. And I know you're using all of those, right? And it is all of that. And to me, that really gets me excited. So will you speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of it is just, I explained by why I even started this. Why did I even start the program, right? Well, first of all, I said I did this, right? So I was able to retire at 39. And so I built my way out of it. I basically bought my way out of corporate by merging the concepts and building a financial strategy. So that is part of it. But the thing is, like, in terms of merging these two concepts, like, if you're only going to think about the money side of it, we said in the very beginning, then it's just like that, you're not really actually going to be connected to it, right? So I saw that there were so many people out there who were really taking a lot of money manifestation programs, right? And that's fine. I love those, right? I take those too. They're great. But what was happening is that when the feel good vibe sort of waned off, like 3 to 6 months down the road, the dollars weren't in the bank account. And the reason is because we're actually not a receiver of money. We are actually supposed to be a conduit for money. And so if you think about energy moving through your body, right? If we're only thinking about it, then it's only getting to here, right? And we're feeling good about it, and we're thinking, and sometimes we can even emotionally start to digest that in a better way, so that emotionally we're feeling better about money. We are allowing more money to flow through us, all of that. But then what happens is you get people who get good at that, and then they're either hoarding money, holding on to money, don't know how to amplify it. In other words, the money is supposed to go all the way through, and then the investing part is where the money actually comes out and amplifies. And if you think about it, consciousness wants to expand, right? Well, money is energy, and money wants to expand. So when people think of themselves as like a receiver, then what it is it's a dead end to money. So what the Spiritual Investor Program does is it creates that full flow channel by taking literally the 5D, right? The money from within, creating that, through, we do Kundalini yoga, we talk about money consciousness, all of these principles. So it is a lot of money manifestation stuff, but then going that next level with energetically clearing inside of your body in terms of looking at your money. A lot of people don't want to look at their money, and that just, they hold it out here. Well, that's going to get stuck, right? If you don't want to look at something, how can you let it in? So then that's like sort of the second part of it. And then the third part of it is we teach you how to use the 3D tools that are available to you. There is so many wonderful tools out there, low cost, easy to use options for you to invest. And then what you're doing is you're amplifying the money. And effectively what that's doing is that saying yes to the universe for more, because you've then created a new channel for money. And it's just like electricity flows from where it is to where it's called. The money is energy too. So you've created this investing channel, right? You have created yourself as a channel because of that energetic connection with money. You, at that point, when you get this set up, you can't stop money from coming to you. I mean, I literally just watch it. And it's a fun game. It becomes something that changes you, because then you're just like looking around, and you're like, wow, okay, wow, and, it also, like people always say, just trust the universe that this is going to happen. Now, it creates a way for you to actually believe, because what happens is you start to see little bits of evidence of it, and then you are able to sort of trust. It's really difficult just to like blow open all of our limited beliefs and say, oh no, I'm just going to trust everything. I'm just going to trust it's going to work out. So does that kind of answer your question and make sense?
Yeah. And that just, wow, there's so many good things in there. So as someone who's in your program, I just want to say that and someone who's done a lot of money manifestations and who's done a lot of work spiritually, and who's a Reiki master who channels energy, and who's had my own, challenging relationships with food and my body. I mean, there's so much that you're talking about as far as like, just thinking good things. I'm going to just think really good things about money and about my body and right. And it's like kind of like walking on eggshells to like, make sure it's okay. Right. And then it's like digesting it and understanding it, but then living kind of in fear, kind of in this holding pattern of life. So if I would put that in terms of our relationship with food, that could be like, I'm a certain weight. I'm not going to go anywhere and enjoy my life. I'm going to hold myself right here and knock out to dinner. And like, cause I got it, it's here. Let me do it. Right. And then there's the flow of life. Right. And one of the things that has been challenging for me with money is not really knowing how to do some things practically. How do I practically take action with investing and actually building wealth? Because I can do as many manifestation courses, but I actually don't know how on the root chakra, on the like practical level to do that. Then I go back up into these fear places. Yeah. I shoot myself back up. And that's the same thing with our relationship with our food and body. If we don't know literally practically self-care tools on how to take care of ourselves, then we're not in that free flow. And I just want to say that it is so important to have a guide. Like I wouldn't be in the place I am right now had I not had mentors. And specifically this piece that I'm in right now, Elizabeth, with you is so powerful because it is creating that flow. And I, like, you named it so well. And I'm like, that's it. That's what's different with what you share. And also, so I just finished the book, Dollars Flow to Me Easily.
So good. Such a good book. Love it.
It's a book you read if you guys want to read a book on manifestation. It makes you go,
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And one of the things I took from that I really loved is you don't even have to believe it.
Yeah, you just have to feel at ease. I mean, isn't it? And it is so true. That is one of the best money manifestation books I have ever read. That one in Pocket Full of Money. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, love it. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Uh, there's another aspect of your teachings that I've gotten that I think is important to bring in very specifically is our intuition,
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
when it comes to our food, right, we get information from the outside external telling us how to eat our food and what to eat and when to eat it, and then we also can get external cues on how to spend our money, how to keep our money, how to invest our money. And what one of the things that you've really focused on that has really supported me is listening within and listening to our intuition. Will you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because, like, I don't teach investing like the traditional way necessarily, where I'm not asking you to memorize a whole bunch of metrics and things like that. You really don't need to be a financial wizard to be able to make money in investing. And I think that the financial world for a lot of years kind of like held that behind like the curtain, like almost like trying to make it feel more difficult than it is. So it's not really, you need some basic principles. And as you know, I try and make them as, as fun as possible, short little videos that we can just like get you what you need. But the premise of what I teach is really intuitive investing. And so it's how to read between the lines, because ultimately, like we said, money is energy. So you can't go out there and start investing your money in something that you don't even resonate with, like if you're really into health and fitness and all of that, like you're probably not going to want to invest in maybe cigarette companies or all of that stuff, right? So you need to know, like you need to learn about social impact investing, or putting your money into new up and coming companies that are doing things that you believe in. Money should be like literally vibrational, like through your body, your story, your why, your values, your belief system. That is intuitive investing. And then when you're able to do that, what happens is, because it's coming from within, you see opportunities that you wouldn't see because you are cognitively biased towards those opportunities. So what's going to happen is you're sitting at the table and someone is talking about this new organic food thing that you can invest in or something like that, because you've shared a little bit about your story. You see what I'm saying? So it's like bringing it within you, because we all know we create our own world, right? Bringing it within you is actually creating that. And when you start to really listen, you can read between the lines in terms of what's really going on with the market, because the market is just an emotional set point of where everyone is globally, and so, but you have to learn your way into that. That's something that you sort of practice over time. That's why I always say money is a practice. But it's something that you can enjoy learning more and more about. And, you can kind of leg your way into it. Like you don't have to go in and put thousands and thousands of dollars in the market. You can go in, you can start with $50. You can start with $100 and just really, whatever's really, I always encourage people to choose whatever is energetically kind of in line with them. And that's one of the reasons that, I'm telling people, if you're not ready for this, because, you've got to be ready to sort of, when you get into this, you've got to be ready to step into this. And you're probably going to end up going deeper than you thought you would go on this money thing. Because money brings up, when you start digging in, money brings up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I want to say that the way that you do this, and you touched on it, is there it's baby steps.
It is. Yeah.
It's like what I have found is like there's an emotional, spiritual, like kind of grounding that happens in how you teach, and then it's layered. So it's never more than you can be with, right? And so it's so geniusly kind of created in this way that there's a lot of safety even when things start to come up. And so the intuition as you're speaking about, because I think people will enhance their intuition and do all their intuitive stuff. And then when they come to money, then they're like, well, someone else knows better. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, how about I come closer and,
Yeah.
oh, I'm feeling, no, I don't want to do that stock. I have no idea why. And everyone's saying to, but I don't want to. And it's like, trust me. Like when we trust ourselves, when we listen to these cues, the same way when we trust our bodies around how we're going to move them or how we're going to feed them, it's the same thing. So I'm hoping everyone's getting is like the tools that we're using in our life, intuition in our life, intuition with food, with our body is the same way we're going to come to our relationship with money.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad that you brought that up and sort of bubbled that to the surface, because that's a really, really important concept. And I think that people don't realize that, even in terms of food and health and nutrition and all that stuff, that they could actually be taking like a percentage of their earned income, we'll call it, right? Money they're making from their business or their job or whatever, and really investing in companies that they believe in and they're excited about and they want to get behind. And then that money is amplifying. So it's kind of like they're creating a new business, in a way, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people away from relying totally on earned income, because that's a risky move, right? Creating this, letting your money work for you in the background. There's a freedom element to it that enhances what you were reading about in Dollars Flow Easily to Me, because that in that book they talk about ease. They use that word a lot, right? Ease. If you know that 50% of your rent or your mortgage is covered by investing, because it's going to start small, right? You're going to build up. Do you know how proud? Do you know how like at ease? Do you know how excited? You don't have to be all the way there to be able to like seriously be in that vibe. And that vibe is what brings you in more, but people can't see that until they get to that. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. How did you like, so when you sort of found the Spiritual Investor Program or all of that, like, because what drew you into it, or even made you feel like that you could do it and that you were ready for it?
I think it was that last little bit that I was talking about, that I've done so much work on myself spiritually and learning so much about how to manifest money. But it was that last little piece of the practical, and also having the support, like that, hands down, because it's too big for me. Right. And it's something that I could have jumped on the bandwagon with my husband, but he does it his way.
Yeah.
And I don't want to always listen to what he's saying when it comes to this very specific thing. Right. And so to me, it was like being sovereign and feeling free and being able to like feel proud of myself to take these actions. So I think that's what really drew me to stepping in fully. And I think I was looking for the right person to do it with. And you were that, because you do have the spiritual component that I needed and that I can resonate with, and someone who knows what you're talking about financially.
Yes.
So that's been so important to connect those. Yeah. So the next steps, I guess, for everyone would be to, if you're interested and want to learn more about Elizabeth, would be to sign up for the video series. Is that correct, Elizabeth?
Yes, we have a 3-part video series that video 2 is out today, but you can still catch up on the first one. So that is really going to give you kind of a jumpstart, a little flavor of what all of this looks like. Yesterday, we talked about money consciousness, money neutrality, some of the stuff that we talked about here. And then in today's video is like a side-by-side, actual numbers, real example for you to show you how like people can make some key decisions early on, because that's the thing. This is building wealth is mainly about making decisions and sort of like positioning yourself for those decisions, right? And then tomorrow, the third one is about investing, and it sort of mirrors the spiritual investor program in that, you know, what we talked about before, the money consciousness first part, you know, you got your second part, you've got like the numbers, the clarity part, and then investing. So the video series will definitely get you to that next step with your money journey. You know, and I really, you know, I've already been hearing from people, and it's a different way of thinking. But once you switch that, you guys know, because it's kind of the same thing with food, right? Where it's once you go on that, it's like that shift, and you can't even say when that shift is going to happen, right? It's like when the penny drops, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I've already put the link in our group a couple days ago for the video series. So I'm going to put it again below. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the link straight to her program if you want to go straight there and check that out as well.
Yeah.
So, and what I'm excited about for our group is to continue this conversation with you all about money and food and see how we can continue this conversation and grow on all these levels. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being
Thank
here.
you.
So blessed to have had you. I really
Uh,
appreciate you in my life.
Absolutely. You as well. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye, you guys.